the Halifax Wanderers 2-0. You lifted the North Star Shield for a second time. Congrats on that. But that's where I was a little disappointed after in the celebration, specifically the attempting to drink off of the North Star Shield. It is a plate. It is not a cup. I thought you drink from a cup, you eat off a plate. So I thought that you guys, since this is your second time around, you could have come up with something a little more creative. If you bake some goods, maybe some baked brownies or something, some edibles off the plate, that could have been interesting.
Yeah. I mean, do we have a chef behind the field in PEI?
I'm sure you would have gladly taken it.
We had the luges going last year, so I think some of the guys just wanted to keep that little tradition going. Who knows? It is what
well done. Well done.
You can't get drunk off, food, Asa. So
Thanks.
That's right. It's all right. Let's get right to the games themselves. After winning back-to-back titles, where does that rank for you specifically and all your achievements in the game, Kyle?
Yeah, it's obviously an unbelievable feeling. I think when we set this whole plan up, obviously you have the goal of winning that first one, and then when that happens, obviously you want to go again. But it's easier said than done, and I think we're all happy how it's been these first 2 years, and I think it's pretty much up there with some of my best achievements, I'd say.
Oh, we all experienced the Island games in different ways. Kyle, we saw you have an impact on the pitch. Oliver was on the sidelines. Gareth, you called games, provided analysis, and then I was coming up with silly segments in studio. So we all played our parts. What's your lasting memory of these Island games? Kyle, we'll start with you.
I think just the grind and just how unique the situation was. I mean, the games were happening very quick early on, especially in the schedule that we had. We were playing a game every 3 days. It's just that turnover, and I think really just immersing ourselves in that football lifestyle. We've spoke about it a few times. We couldn't hide in any of that. We couldn't hide in the hotel. So whether it was a bad practice, a bad game, or whatever, you had to have that short memory and kind of get on with it and continue to do everything as professional as possible and keep living above the line in that sense. And we were lucky enough to have a team that fully bought into that mindset. And I think that's something that's going to, stick with me for a while.
Ollie, what about for you? You were there as well, taking it all in the bubble.
Yeah, well, it was probably witnessing what Kyle just talked about, to be honest. Like, I thought just the commitment of the players and coaches, through 6 weeks to leave their whole lives behind and do nothing apart from really, play soccer and train and be with their teammates was just super impressive. And it's something that I think bodes really well for this league and for the standard of Canadian soccer generally. The standard of football I thought was good given the circumstances, given, the lack of preparation time and things like that. Just, listening to the coaches and watching how they work day in, day out, the kind of meticulousness of their preparation, the insight I gained personally just from being able to talk to them every single day. As I said, it wasn't obviously the season we wanted to have, but I think it showed a lot of really good things in terms of what this league is about and where it's going. Because I just thought everyone really, the commitment, the professionalism was spot on, and maybe didn't quite expect that. You thought in that situation that at least some players or some teams might just kind of go off the rails a bit, and I don't think that really happened.
Gareth, yeah.
Want me to go? Yeah. Aside from sleeping in my own bed every night, no offense, guys. Sorry to rub that in. It was the entertainment value. So many goals. I believe there was only one goalless draw in the entire tournament. And the penalties, like the handballs, have foreshadowed what now the Premier League's going through. That's what I kind of wanted to ask Kyle. Like when you're going through that, you're seeing penalty after penalty, game after game, and the penalties being called in a way that typically footballers aren't used to. What was that like, knowing how much you were sacrificing into kind of being thrown, this frustration your way during games as they were playing out?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a curveball. I think we can honestly say that we were on both sides of it. Obviously, we felt that we had one that was pretty harsh in the sense that it was given from a fourth official from 50 yards away. And we were definitely gifted one against Halifax in that second game that definitely wasn't. But it's on the basis of the one that should have been called in the first half. So as a player, it's frustrating. I mean, it's the nature of the game. It kind of is what it is. You got to deal with it. Obviously, you have to manage your emotions in those sense. And again, it's something that gets thrown at you. You kind of got to deal with it. But yeah, it's tough, man. When you're putting everything you have into this in such a sort of a tournament style format, it can be definitely very cruel at times.
So what do you do? Like, as a player now, are you guys talking about adjusting to the rule, or do you just hate the rule, or will the rule have to evolve? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it seems that it's under interpretation every single ref you get. So for one, I would like to across the board figure it out, and then maybe they can explain it to us the way that they see it, because clearly we're reading the rule in different ways. So I mean, if we could figure that one out and have some clarity across the board, I think that would be a good start.
What did we say? New uniforms with pockets? You can just tuck your your heads right into your kit.
I was gonna say, like, how do you even adjust to that beyond jumping with your hands by your sides and like keeping them glued there, right? Like, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and it's definitely a harsh one, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially, it's got to be tough when you're jumping up in the air. Speaking of penalties specifically, though, one player, your teammate, Paulo Sabac, converted 2 for you guys. But when you look at his tournament as a whole, maybe not the type of production that you would have liked to see from the newcomer who was brought in really to replace Tristan Borges and fill that void. Oliver, this is a question that I'm going to bring up to you first. Does he need to play a bigger role for Forge FC with those big games coming up in CONCACAF League play, and as well for the that CAN Champs final?
To be honest, I kind of disagree with the whole premise of this, to be honest. Like, I heard some people saying, they needed a bit more out of him. I thought it was pretty good. I think when you start comparing him to Tristan Borges and, the Golden Boot winner and the Player of the Year, you're kind of setting him up for disappointment, right? Especially because Borges was a forward. He was a player who attacked the box and was always getting in those goal-scoring positions. Sabac's a different type of player. He's more of a midfielder, a bit more like Kyle. And you're not going to get the same numbers, I don't think, out of that kind of player. But I thought he protected the ball really well in midfield. I think his chance creation, if you look at those stats, was very good. And if you can find me another player in the league who came from another country and had to settle in and was kind of as durable and reliable across the whole tournament as Paulo Sabac was at 21 years old, then I can't think of anyone. So can he get better? Of course, he's a young player and he's going to continue improving. But for me, he was one of the top midfielders at the tournament.
Yeah, and it's absolutely nitpicking when Forge went on to win the Canadian Premier League for 2020. Look, like, I don't know how Kyle feels about this, but you guys played 11 games, right? 11 games. That's generally a third of your season. For me, everything that we received at this tournament, it was entertaining. It was great for the teams to be together, but it was really a glimpse. I don't think that we'll know the full potential of what any team could be under normal circumstances, just the way that things played out over the tournament. This was tournament football, and Forge were the best over the course of this tournament. But when you want to spread it out for an entire season and new players coming in, I think it's difficult to judge.
Yeah, Kyle, does he have another gear? Can we expect more from him in these upcoming games?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Wheels and Oliver said. Like, I think it is a bit harsh in the fact that we have this nature of kind of looking at goals and assists and just straight stats without actually watching the game. But if you see what this guy does on the field, he's an unbelievable talent. You can go back to a few, and he has a couple chances that he'll be the first one to say he should have scored. That puts him at 4 right away. And then all of a sudden, This conversation is different. But kind of touching on that tournament style and how weird this was. It was such a unique situation where everything was kind of rhythm and how you're fitting into the team and kind of building on that confidence that what you need when you're finishing. You have to get into that rhythm, and you kind of have to. You get a little bit lucky. Like, if you look at one of my goals, that ball that hit off into the ground and it goes in, that could have gone anywhere, but it goes in, and it's just you're feeling good in that moment. And I think Paulo, there's a couple of chances that go the other way, and then all of a sudden this conversation is completely different. But the ability and the talent that guy has is incredible, and what he brings to our team it's fantastic. And I think he did grow into it as the tournament went on.
Yeah. And
he does. Yeah, he has a few more gears, but I think that's not a slight on what he did and what he was able to contribute throughout this tournament.
All right, next up for Forge FC is a meeting with Municipal Limeño in El Salvador on October 22nd. Gentlemen, let's be honest. How much did you know about this club before this match was announced, Ollie?
Absolutely nothing. So I went to Google, as you do, and I was greeted by the clip art pig, which has taken Canadian soccer by storm. So that's about all I know about them. I also saw that they've had 15 managers since 2014, according to Wikipedia.
Really?
So yeah, that's pretty unbelievable. But yeah, obviously, it's never easy to go down to anywhere in CONCACAF and play an away game, and obviously without getting the home leg as well. So it'll be an interesting one. just to see what that game looks like in the current situation, given all the cancellations and other CONCACAF competitions. But I think it's a pretty good opportunity and pathway for Forge when you look at the teams they could face, to potentially go deep in this tournament and have a chance of qualifying for the Champions League.
I'm more of an expert on Honduran football, to be honest with you. Not that familiar with El Salvador, but the fact that Kyle, you guys had that experience, last year playing in this competition, that has to bode well right off the bat, especially considering, the core of your squad is still together, right? So whether it's a team from El Salvador, Trinidad, Tobago, I'm not sure if any of these teams would have phased you, to be honest.
Well, the fact is, anytime you go to any of these places, it's difficult. It's tough circumstances. The place you're playing, where you're staying, you're away from home. Just all those things that go into that are factors that go into the game. So I don't think it's anything that we're trying to take lightly. Obviously, we saw the crest as well, and it's pretty hilarious. It's unbelievable, but we can't obviously judge a book.
There it is.
It's perfect example right there. So
Beautiful.
I think we just got to prepare as best as possible and take it as serious, and hopefully we do our job and trust that we can do the business that way. Hey,
Kyle, let's get some real banter going. Would you rather wear a uniform that had a pig on it or have your mascot be Yorkie, like what we saw last year?
No, I think it's something else. I would like to see a full mascot on the sideline.
The full pig?
Yeah. You think they have a mascot?
I don't know. It'd be interesting.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, it'll probably be a live pig on the side of the field.
Where does the crest rank for you guys? Come on, is this thing amazing or? I mean, it's adorable. First of all, it's the best way to describe it. But is it the best or the worst crest you've ever seen?
I think the best.
Yeah, I can't think of a better one.
Anything, nothing in like third, fourth tier in England that you could drum up for us, Ollie, that compares to this? It's pretty unique.
No, like there's some bad crests out there, obviously, but none have a pig.
Nothing with a cartoon
kicking
pig.
A ball around. No. So yeah, I'm going to go with the pig.
All right. So that's obviously a big game for Forge FC. Oliver, looking ahead to another massive match for Forge FC. I want you to finish this sentence. If Forge defeats TFC in the Canadian Championship, it'll be the biggest surprise win in Canadian soccer since.
I don't know. I think obviously you go back to Cavalry Vancouver, but
I think that's the one, right? And it's still fairly recent.
Well, I'd say, and I don't want to be patronizing to Forge because Carl's played in MLS, Babuli's played in MLS, David Edgar's played in the Premier League, so they're not some minnows here. But Vancouver were at the start of a rebuild last year. They were a bit vulnerable. TFC, they're one of the best teams in MLS. Budget-wise, it's obviously a different world to the CPL. So I think this would be a bigger surprise in a lot of ways. And I think Cavalry Vancouver was probably the biggest surprise so far in the Canadian Championship we've ever seen. So in terms of modern Canadian club soccer, I'm struggling to think of a bigger one here.
Gareth,
I'm programmed to expect the unexpected. I'll go back last month since Montreal beat Vancouver to make it Toronto FC Forge. Since Vancouver beat Toronto, look, these are all professional footballers. These are all quality players. And I think what we learned over the course of the Island Games, the Canadian Rivals Series, is that you can't take a night off. You can't underestimate any of your opponents. There's good quality players. I mean, Ollie named a couple players on Kyle's team. I'd Kwame Awua, former MLS player, into the mix, and a player that I think that can absolutely play at that next level. I mean, there's good players across the board for Forge. And on top of that, there's something more in this. And let's be honest here, this is a dream tie. This is a dream Canadian Championship final. The fact that, I was born in Hamilton. I live in Toronto. Kyle, is from Oakville. I mean, I'm a Burlington guy. We've grown up in this area, right? We know what that Hamilton-Toronto rivalry is all about. It's not just all made up when it comes to the Canadian Football League. Like, there's a real rivalry there where friends and family and others are all going to be watching, as this is going to be the first time ever that these two sides have played. So I think that's going to add something to the occasion, a little bit more motivation if they need any for Forge, and maybe a little bit more pressure with familiar faces and expectations on the shoulders of Toronto FC heading into that game. So would it be an upset? Yes, but I mean, we'd be foolish to think that upsets don't happen like this on a regular basis.
Yeah, Kyle, you obviously having experience with TFC, other players, MLS experience, other teammates of yours have MLS experience. When you look at this matchup, Have you ever been in a match that's had a better fit for this David versus Goliath match?
No, honestly, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, we had that experience we did with Olympia last year, which can't be kind of brushed under the rug because they're an established team and they've had success in CONCACAF, and that was big for us and it was big for the league in general. But this is huge, and there's no denying it. Obviously, it's a massive chance for our team and a lot of guys to go in, put their best foot forward, and showcase their ability and what they're capable of. And these are the moments that you want. They're all you can ask for as a player, especially if you're trying to break into that next level. Showcase what you're all about. Showcase what you can do. And the beauty in this situation is we don't have any pressure on us. I mean, the weird thing about these games is if TFC goes out and beats us 2-0, it was expected. So what's the problem? Like we can go out and we can truly play free and show what Forge is all about as a team and the talent that we have across the board and just try and do something. Who knows what can happen? Exactly. As you said, Wheeler, it's the crazier things have happened in this game. And that's the beauty of football right there. So it's nothing to be scared about. I think it's something that we've all been waiting for, and it was something that we were playing for in the back of our head when we went into that tournament in PA.
Yeah, and on top of that, the game's gonna be played in December, January, right? Like the weather could be crap, could be a great equalizer as well. You played on an ice field before last year in Calgary. I mean, if you end up playing at BMO, I mean, at least the field's warm. Like the pitch will be good quality, right? So you grew up in this, you know what it's like playing these conditions.
It'd be a perfect Canadian final, man. Let's play it in the snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there extra motivation for you, Kyle? Are you getting a little extra amped for that game, given your history with TFC?
No, none of that is anything I think about. I'm all about what we're doing here at Forge and how we can continue to create that environment where we can be as successful as possible and continue to push guys on to the next level and really lay that foundation to be synonymous. When you think of CPL, you think about Forge and you think about championships, and that's what we're doing. I think we've made some great steps so far. We're doing our best to start a hardware store over at Tim Hortons Field, and I think that's just the motivation to keep going.
Like that.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of concerns about the timing, Kyle? Just given, you're obviously hopefully going to have a few CONCACAF games here to get you through to the end of the year, but then, it could be a bit of a gap between whenever this final takes place and your last game.
Yeah, obviously it's not ideal, but nothing that's happened this year has been ideal, and it is what it is. They're trying to finish their season as best they can, and we got these CONCACAF games to look forward to, so we're not just training aimlessly, and hopefully we can get a date locked in that we can look forward to, and whatever else happens at this point. I think 2020 has taught us that we kind of just got to go with the flow and see how everything's going, and we can't get ahead of ourselves. So it is what it is. What
has training been like? What are the conversations like as you get ready for these games? The first one, obviously, in El Salvador.
Yeah, I think once we got back, obviously we had a few days to kind of get rid of that little hangover we were having after the little party time in Charlottetown. But the mood's been good. I mean, the guys are happy. It was obviously a stressful and it was an intense 40, 43 or 45 days, whatever it was. So it's kind of just building it back up. And I think everyone's obviously, as they should, the spirits have been high and we have something to look forward to. So as I said, we are motivated to keep training and the staff's doing their part to start building us back up and get our fitness back after that little week off and start working towards them.
You probably needed that time off, right? Like there were so many games in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously I think when we're in it, obviously we kind of just we kind of push it to the back of our minds, but that schedule, it was intense, man. I don't know if there's been a soccer schedule that's been out there like that before, but it was, I think there's a credit to all the players in the league who bought in and the staff as well, who made sure everyone was kind of fit and ready to go because it was grueling.
Kyle,
go ahead.
I just have to ask this. Correct me if I'm remembering wrong here, but I think you guys had to be on a bus to the airport pretty early the morning after the final. Could you just describe the scene on that trip?
It was like The Walking Dead. I mean, I was 30 minutes late for the bus, so I can't. I was hurt, man. It was that was definitely a rough wake up.
Can I ask you, Asa? Can I ask you a question about the bubble? Because when you're stuck with the same people for you said 43, 45 days, like some guys you're buds with, you could probably deal with it. Like I know in my case, like if I go away to the cottage with friends, the weekend's fine. If it was a week, I'd drive them crazy, right? Like, So which one of your teammates were you like, okay, see you later. Don't message me. I'll see you at training in a week. You just needed a break for them because they're a little bit too much.
Honestly, well, I was rooming with Eddie, so I think we were good. Obviously, we get along well, but us just kind of being on the older end of the spectrum if you look across our roster, we just went in and we straight up were like, all right, man, we're in a relationship for 43 days, so we better start communicating a little better.
Yeah.
we both understood when we needed our little time to ourselves and just not really say anything, no words, and kind of just went to the little, whether it was the team room or hung out outside, whatever it may be. But and there's no shame in that. Like I like to keep to myself a few times, so it's tough to be around everyone 24/7. You need a few hours to just shut off and be alone. So I think we handled it pretty well, and we were kind of driving that point home to everyone else and just making sure everyone was taking care of their room as best as they could.
Did anyone ask to switch roommates?
Not that I know of, man. Honestly, I surprisingly, I think we got a good little group in terms of guys who can mesh with each other. But if they are, they didn't say anything. They just kept it to themselves, and they've probably just been cursing them out since they've got home. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. We just want to get back to these upcoming games, very important ones. I just want to know how this team currently compares to last year's team and how it may have grown through the island games as you get ready for these massive competitions coming up.
I think it's tough to compare the two just because of how different the seasons were. I think if we have a normal season, the way we were progressing in preseason, we were flying and the spirits were very high. And then you go into it and it's very much tournament style. So certain things happen, whether it's a draw or a loss, and it kind of shakes up the mentality. But if we had that week in and week out where we're continuing to slowly build it up and all that, I think we would have seen performances across the board that would have been unbelievable. I think we had the ability to surpass what we did last year. I think that was kind of across the board, everyone's feeling going into it. So yeah, it's very tough. I think we showed a lot more grit. I think this time around, I think guys, when it came down to it, we felt that we were allowing teams the chance that they thought they could come out and press us, and we weren't willing to fight. And I think those last 3 games, we showed that if you guys want to fight, then we can match that too, and we'll play you off the pitch at the same time. So it was unique, I think. So it's tough to compare the two.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left here, and we have to get to this topic. Our very own Josh Cloak reported that there was serious MLS interest in your services, Kyle Bekker. I know previously you said that you didn't hear anything about it, but we want to know if there's been any update on that, and if you indeed will be back in Hamilton with Forge FC next year.
I still haven't heard anything, so I don't know who the sources are, man. You better check those. Yeah, but I'm happy in Hamilton, man. I'm here for the foreseeable future. If they want me, that is. Who knows? Maybe they're done with me. I don't know. But yeah, I really want to be a part of this and see where we can really take this thing.
How much would a Player of the Year, an MVP, for your performance at the Island Games mean to you, and as far as your accomplishments go and what you've done in your career so far? How important would that be for you?
Yeah, it's nice, of course, but for me, I already got the trophy that I wanted. I think the big one for me is I want to see a G get rewarded for the performances he's put in for the last 2 years. I think he deserves that gold glove more than anyone. I mean, you have a goalie who's won 2 finals. He hasn't let a goal in 2 finals or 3 games, considering it was a 2-legged one last year. So I don't know how he doesn't win. Just give it to him. I want to see Bobby get the Coach of the Year award because he deserves it more than anyone. And honestly, for me, I don't really care. It is what it is. I got my plate or my thing I can do beer luges off of, so I'm good.
Very good.
Come on, do you want to make a case for yourself?
I'm all right.
No? Okay.
I
think we'll make the case for you instead. Leave it to us.
We can do that.
Yeah. Okay, Gareth. Yeah, go ahead, Ollie.
Sorry, no, I was just going to ask. Like, we had the Gold Cup draw a few days ago on One Soccer, and John Herdman was kind of talking about how, you know, we may see different squads in World Cup qualifying and the Gold Cup next summer. Then you've got the Olympics as well, the U20s. Do you kind of have a little bit of an eye on that situation, just in terms of, you know, your own chances of breaking back into that picture and the depth that the national team's going to need next year?
Yeah, that would be unbelievable. Obviously, if that opportunity arises, I would jump at that in a heartbeat. I think anytime you have the chance to represent your country and play at that international level, you have to take it and continue to test yourself. And obviously the person I am, being very competitive, I would love to have that opportunity, but it's not something that I'm thinking about day in and day out. It's how do we get better? How do we get better as a team? And then in turn, I showcase myself a little bit better. So obviously that would be incredible and another dream to put that jersey back on, but who knows what the future holds.
Gareth, I got a question for you. After this second North Star Shield win for Forge FC, who on the club deserves a look at a higher level aside from Kyle Bekker, obviously?
Well, Kyle, I already mentioned Kwame. I like Chouanier. I think that if he gets a little bit more consistency in the game, he certainly can play at that low. There's a number of players, right? But Kyle will tell you this: it's the timing needs to be right, not only for the player, but the club that needs a player of that kind of profile. Like it's not as simple as this player is very good and good enough, and obviously is going to move on to the next level. There's a lot of circumstance that surrounds that. So we'll see what plays out. But honestly, like I hope that the players on Forge stay put for this next run here, for this CONCACAF League run in this Canadian Championship final, and just go toe to toe.
What about for you, Kyle?
Yeah.
Who deserves a look? Which are your teammates?
I think a few of those names that you just mentioned. I think Kwame could easily make the jump. I think Chouanier has the capability. I think what we saw in him this year was night and day from what he brought last year, just in terms of his mentality, his buy-in, his work rate, and all that. And he does have that gear to go into that final third and produce those assists or those goals, and he can be a little bit more consistent, and that was something he was working on. And I think we have a player like Daniel Crutzen, who was unbelievable. I think Tristan Henry's continued to grow over these 2 years. If we saw Johnny Grant fully healthy all the time, that guy has a ceiling that no one even knows. It's unbelievable, the talent he has. I think across the board, you have guys who are potentially able to make that jump, and they have that ability. So it's exactly what you said. It's obviously a matter of circumstance and what teams are looking for, but it's not a question of talent, I think, at this point.
Ollie, anyone you want to add to the list?
Well, I'll just echo Crutzen. Like, I'll be happy to see him playing for Forge next year if I get to watch him, and I'm sure Forge would be more than happy to keep him. But I also know they're not afraid to push players onto the next level. And for me, if this guy isn't getting interest in the January window or whenever it is, then something's wrong, because he's been the best defender, probably along with David Edgar and one or two others in this league for 2 years now.
Yeah, well said. A lot of talent on that team, and we're hoping that they all stay together, stay with Forge FC. But if they move on, that's great as well. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you very much, Kyle, for coming on our show. I'm sure we'll have to do this again, and wish you all the best moving forward. Oh, who's that, Gareth?
Got Reese coming on to say thanks to Kyle and the best of luck going forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good, guys.
She's the pig version of a dog. She's half pig, half dog. So
Mano fan.
Beyond that, then we'll be all right.
She'd love to go to El Salvador.
We'll have to get that that logo on her crest. Looking good, guys. All right.
One Soccer crest.
That's right. All right. For the rest of the One Soccer team, I want to thank everyone for watching. A reminder that the Can Champ final is right here on One Soccer, so be sure to check that out. And we encourage you to subscribe to the One Soccer YouTube channel and you keep up with everything that's happening in the CPL, as well as the Canadian players around the world. For the rest of the One Soccer crew, thanks so much for watching. Till next time, take care.